All right, y'all. So the Houston Rockets were not expected to be this good going into the season. I thought they were going to be good. I predicted Ime Udoka would win Coach of the Year. I thought they'd make the playoffs. I legitimately was higher on this Rockets, I think, than a lot of other teams were. But I didn't expect them to be this good. They have reached the point where I seriously believe this team should make a move to try to compete to win a title this year. And I think I have the perfect move for them to do that without giving up a massive part of their future assets. Kind of. It's an interesting deal, and I want to talk about it in this video. I have a prospective move that they could make that I think would legitimately catapult them into serious championship contention overnight, because they are great and they are exceeding expectations, incredibly well coached, elite defensively, and have a lot of young, talented guys playing really, really well. And I'm excited to break it down. Impressive win today over the Cavs, a team that obviously 36-8. Now they've struggled a teeny bit more as of late, but besides the fourth quarter, which Cleveland scored 47 points, the Rockets kind of dominated this game. Amen Thompson with a 23 point, 14 rebound, 10 assist, 1 steal, 2 block, 41-minute dominant performance. He may not be a good shooter yet, but he is absolutely exceptional at everything else. He is a player that I have not really touched on specifically much on this channel, and I need to talk about him more because he has been awesome. His ability to push the ball in transition, his confidence attacking the rim, his real handling ability. I mean, as good as I think Asar is, and as promising of a player that I think Asar is, especially on the defensive end of the court and athletically, and kind of as a do-it-all type player in his own right, Amen is just on a different level. Like, Amen is legitimately, he looks like a future superstar, a multi-time all-star, unbelievably impactful on both ends of the court, a guy who I just don't know how, when Jabari Smith gets healthy again, you cannot start Amen Thompson. Like, I realistically think Jabari Smith, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to come off the bench, because Amen Thompson has earned his starting role. He is playing amazing, and his impact is impeccable. I mean, he's +10 tonight, best plus minus on the team. If I had to guess, that's probably a consistent theme. I didn't look at the plus minus stats for this team, but I would have to assume Amen Thompson is right at the top of the list for the Houston Rockets. Good game from Şengün as well, 26 points. Jalen Green has 26 as well on relatively decent efficiency, especially by his standards. And they get decent contributions from Fred VanVleet with a nice efficient performance. 6 and 9 from 3 is always super nice. Steven Adams had a good game off the bench, 14 points, 4 rebounds, and an impressive win over a very, very good Cavs team. Now, the Cavs bigs didn't play great tonight, but Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland definitely came to play, especially Garland, and they still got the job done. Impressive win. George Niang went 6 of 7 from 3 too, and they still won. Like, very impressive win for the Rockets, all things considered, against one of the very best teams in all of basketball. And it's the type of win that has me thinking. You look at the standings and where the Rockets are right now. They're the 2 seed in the West. They're 6 games back of OKC. Is it realistic to catch OKC? Honestly, probably not. Is it realistic that they hold on to the 2 seed and they have home court advantage until at least the conference finals? That, I think, is absolutely possible. Now, they're tied with Memphis. They're 2.5 games ahead of Denver. Things could certainly change. But as of right now, they look like they are right in the mix to already, as the roster is currently constructed, be the second best team in the regular season in the Western Conference. My biggest problem with this team is that I'm not 100% confident that it will translate to the postseason on the offensive end of the court. I think as good as they are and as talented as they are and as impeccable defensively as they are, I'm a little bit worried that the crunch time offense and things of that nature could really struggle. And yes, you look at the defensive rating, 4th in basketball, elite defensive team. Offensively, they're not bad by any means. They're the 9th rated offensive rating in the league as well. They have a 6.1 net rating, which puts them 6th in basketball. Like, as of right now, the numbers already tell the story of an elite level basketball team, especially defensively, but really solid offensively too. Here's the problem with this team. Number one, you look at their 3-point percentage, they're 4th worst in basketball, behind only the Magic, who have really struggled recently, and then Washington and Portland, who are 2 teams that are not great and are kind of in tank mode. And that's a real concern, because offensively in the playoffs, you're gonna have to knock down threes. And I think I can look at clutch stats right here. Let me check and see. Well, maybe not. I might have to find the clutch stats separately. Oh, here we go. Let me pull up the clutch stats real quickly, because I think in clutch time, that is another area where they have really struggled so far this season. Now, they do have the 8th most clutch points in the league, but they're shooting 40% or 40.7%, which is about bottom 10 in the league efficiency wise. It was worse than this earlier this season, but they're not a super efficient clutch time team. They're elite defensively, but offensively, 28% from 3. That's also near the bottom of the league. In crunch time, they're not a good offensive team, and that's a concern. They are overall a pretty good offensive team. But as is, they do not have the number one option to go to down the stretch to match buckets with an opponent's best player to get those clutch buckets that you need in late game moments to win games. And I think that's going to be something that could very much be a flaw of this team come playoff time. And that is why Zach LaVine is the perfect addition to the Houston Rockets, because let's compare Zach LaVine and Jalen Green. They have very similar profiles in a lot of ways. Both of them high volume, very talented scorers. Neither of them elite level defenders, and they play the same position, which is also nice. They're ball handling shooting guards. But LaVine, he's averaging more points. He's averaging more rebounds. He's averaging significantly more assists. Defensively, I think they're pretty similar, and LaVine is far more efficient. 8 percentage points better from the field, almost 10 percentage points better from the three-point line. Just overall, he's a significantly more efficient player all the way around. And the other thing that I think is really important to note about Zach LaVine is his assist to turnover ratio of 4.5 to 2.8. Puts him as it's not an incredible assist to turnover ratio, but it's way better than Jalen Green's 2.7 to 2.5. He is a much more competent playmaker with the ball in his hands. You can trust him more to make the right decisions, and he is also a more efficient scorer. Yes, I understand that he is not as young as Jalen Green, and yes, I get that that does matter to a certain extent. I'm not taking that away from him. He's 29 years old. Jalen Green is 22. There is a lot more future growth potential for Jalen Green's game than there is for Zach LaVine's. The thing about LaVine is he is just a way more efficient player, and you look at their usage percentages, it's exactly the same, pretty much. Like, I don't think that Zach LaVine would struggle to come into Houston because he would immediately adopt the Jalen Green role on the offensive end of the court, but he would do it more efficiently, and he would be more of a crunch time scorer and just an overall more effective scorer. And I think, yes, you're trading youth, but you're also trading youth for a serious chance to win a title, and a guy who's going to give you the ability to do that, I think, over multiple years. Now, in order to facilitate a trade, my thought was that the Bulls could get Jalen Green back, and that would take away the need for the Rockets in all likelihood to add any sort of picks. The only trade that I found that really works right now, though, is this deal, which is Steven Adams, Jalen Green, Jeff Green, and Cam Whitmore for Zach LaVine. The problem with this is they'd be giving up Jalen Green and Cam Whitmore, who I think is also a key piece to a certain extent in the Rockets' future. Steven Adams and Jeff Green are mostly there to match salaries, and honestly, I don't have a huge issue with trading those guys, considering Jeff Green's basically he's a leader, yes, but he's an end-of-the-bench guy. He doesn't really play, and they have Jock Landale, who can serve as a backup big. Jabari Smith Jr. at times in his career has been best at center, and I think he could very easily come off the bench as your backup center as well, considering how well Amen Thompson has played in Jabari's place in the starting lineup, which again, I think is very important. And so this trade works financially. Now, is it a trade the Rockets would do? That I'm not sure of. Is it a trade I think they should do? Yes, I think so. Now, it's a shame that it's not a shame they signed Jalen Green to an extension already, but because they signed him to the extension already and it hasn't kicked in yet, Jalen Green has a poison pro protection on his contract, which means his valuation in a trade is lower. It's like an average between his current contract and the current average salary and his next average salary. And it's complicated, and I'm not a total expert on salary cap stuff, but it does complicate this deal a little bit. The Jalen Green is not evaluated in terms of where his finances are for this trade, the way that his actual annual value is. So would make the trade a little bit more difficult. I'm sure there's probably a simpler or better way to do this trade. But I think some sort of Zach LaVine for Jalen Green swap would, number one, give the Bulls a young star potential type player who might be a building block for the future. And it would give the Rockets the type of piece that they need to go from very good regular season team to serious NBA championship contender. I understand the stigma about Zach LaVine has not been very positive the last couple of years. I think that is absolutely undeserved this year. He has been elite on the offensive end of the court, and I mean legitimately elite. There are very few players in basketball scoring at the volume and efficiency that Zach LaVine is doing it, and doing it while being a capable playmaker as well, and on a bad team too. Very impressive stuff. And I think Zach LaVine solves all of the Rockets' offensive issues while really not hurting them much defensively, and pushes them from, yes, upper echelon team to top echelon team, right with the best teams in basketball. This is the perfect trade. Will the Rockets do it? I don't know. Do I think it would immediately overnight make them the biggest threat to OKC in the West and potentially one of the biggest favorites to win the title in the entire league? Absolutely. I hope y'all did enjoy the video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more NBA content very, very soon. I appreciate y'all. Peace.